In this video we're going to be talking about sampling. Inside Logic we have got a sampler called EXS24. As you can see here on my screen I've got 3 audio loops that I've put together. I've just taken them from the Apple loops in the side here. But there's components inside each of these that I actually want. Now normally what most people tend to do is sit there and get the scissors out, chop them up and then start copying parts round. So for example, if we've got this part here, I'd be getting my keys out and just start to place them into the beat, which for certain productions that's fine, but bear in mind we're only 4 bars into the track and that's only 5 seconds. That's going to take a long time. What I'm going to propose here is something that will speed up the process an awful lot. So I'm just going to undo all of my edits. What I need to quickly do though is just have a little listen to these particular tracks and find the bits I actually want. So I'm going to do this by just zooming in on the track ever so slightly, and right, I like the hi-hat and I also like the clap here. Right, so I need to right click and get my scissors up, and you need to be quite accurate with this. So you hold your mouse button down, your left mouse button, and go up to the start of the sample, and you go to the end of the sample, and then the same with the next bit of audio. And if you go slightly over, undo and zoom in a little bit further so you can actually see what's going on. So I'm going to do that just there, and because that one dies out roughly there. So let's zoom back out, and if I, for the sake of this, just mute the bits I don't want to hear. Perfect. Right, so I don't get confused, one of my personal tricks then is to delete the bits I'm not actually going to be using. If I find I want to go back to it, I can, because inside Logic all the editing in this page is what we call non-destructive. So if I now zoom that out, the audio loop is still there. Let's go to the second track and see what's on here. I think it's a snare. Well, this one should be relatively straightforward to do. So let's just zoom in on it, and again, let's find the sample. Let's go back to the start just so we can actually see a little bit more of it. Right then, okay, and zoom out ever so slightly. Get my scissors again. I don't want this bit at the start, so I'm going to cut it all out and make them quite sharp and tight sounds. In fact, I'll go to the end there. So again, just to double check, mute the bit I don't want. Perfect. So again, highlight the bits and press the backspace, that deletes it. And let's go to our last bit, which is here. I think this is a kick drum and possibly a hi-hat as well. Right, so what I actually want is the kick drum and this first bit here. Right, so let's just get a shot of all the stuff we don't want, and again we'll zoom in and get the hi-hat. So we've now got a range of samples that we actually want to use. So I'm just going to zoom the screen back out ever so slightly. Now to get the sampler up, all you need to do is click on the plus, i.e. new tracks, or you can use Option, Command and N. I'll click on this one, and from my drop down menu, EXS24 Sampler, it automatically chooses a stereo output, although you do have lots of other options, from mono, multi-output, even surround sound. The multi-output is kind of useful because you can end up putting all of your sounds up different channels inside Logic and applying different plugins to the different channels. But for the purpose of this, we'll leave it in stereo mode and click on Create. Now, we need to double click on the plugin in the center, and it brings up the main plugin page. And it's currently set in standard sort of mode. So you've got your 3 lines, which means that there's nothing playing. So let's click on edit, and we get a second window, which is a keyboard and where we put zones or samples. So let's move this one out the way for the time being. And all I need to do is go back to my main screen. Let's get off the scissors just because. And just highlight all the samples. And here's how difficult it is. You drag and drop into Logic, into EXS24. It says adding 5 samples. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And it's saying that we're going to be on a contiguous zone. Leave that as automatic. So click on OK. And now you'll see it's put all the samples. All the samples are there, right? From this point, we can start having a little bit of fun. I'm actually going to, with my samples, I've got a clap there. It's a little bit dark, so I'm going to pretty it up slightly by just turning up the pitch, just to prove it. Yeah. And I'm also going to reverse it. There you are. So that's our samples. Once we click on the red button, it'll say, do you want to save the samples? Yes, you do. Click on save. And now name it. Right, so we'll do demo samples and just save it. Now inside EXS24, whenever you call up the presets, you'll find all of your presets and all the stuff that's inside Logic anyway, all your sounds, your samples, your pianos and everything, but you'll also find your demo samples. So let's just shut that one down, and we can mute those tracks now because we don't want to hear them. And I'm going to quickly just put in what's called a MIDI region, and we're going to double click on it. And if I bring this aspect up ever so slightly and go down to, because we said it started on C1, here's our samples. So let's get our pencil and kick drum. And I'm not entirely sure what this is actually going to sound like. We'll put those there, and let's have a laugh and see what that sounds like. So back to play. Almost there. Let's move that one over to there. There you are. So we've actually created a whole new beat from these various audio clips, and this is the beauty with the sampler. These audio clips can be anything, from various drums that you've heard on YouTube or the internet, or you may have some records or various music at home that you'd like to sample, all the way through to vocals. You can put these as guitar loops. Obviously, I've made them single hit sounds. You can also make them loops. The limitations are in your mind.